Coach, appreciate your time.
Thanks for having me.
Describe for us the style of your offense.
The biggest thing for our guys is we want to be fast and physical, set the tone up front and get the ball to our playmakers in space. So, that's been our big point of emphasis throughout spring ball going into fall camp is fast, physical, and assignment sound in everything that we do.
Quarterback situation?
It's been a fun battle.
Right.
Raised the level of the entire football team that way, and excited to see those guys keep competing and getting after it.
When will you make a decision?
Before the first game.
Before the first game. What's the most difficult thing about play calling?
To me, it's a fun thing. It's a way to play chess with different pieces, right? Our pieces on offense versus what a defense has that way, and putting together a different game plan each and every week, and trying to be one step ahead of the defensive coordinator in terms of what his call is going to be, and then more than anything, putting our kids in position to be successful. And at the end of the day, they're the ones who make the plays. So, get the ball to our playmakers in space, play fast and physical, and the rest seems to work out.
What are some of the things that you have to get done before camp breaks?
Just continuing to master our craft, in terms of assignments and technique, and then just continuing, like I said, to raise the level of competition across the board. Our guys have done a phenomenal job, not just buying into what we're doing, but fully embracing it and playing full speed in everything that they do. And it's been fun to be a part of, and fun to keep building forward. We
were talking to Coach before practice, and he was talking about the offensive line, and he feels good, but he wants to develop some more depth. Tell us about the offensive line, maybe some of the guys that you're depending on.
Yeah, CT and Josh Thompson were really two established vets last year who started for us at the tackle positions and did a phenomenal job that way. And then, Ben Rather came in and started a lot of games last season as well and did a phenomenal job. So really continuing to push those guys and develop them, as well as brought in a couple transfers to keep providing both depth and competition. And then, some young guys who it maybe didn't play as much over the last couple of years or whatever the case may be, but want to keep raising their level and competing, and firm believer that winning starts up front in the trenches on both the offense and defensive line. So want that to be our staple and hallmark moving forward as we continue building our offense.
Tell us about some of the transfers and the young guys that the fans may not know.
Yeah, so I think Jack Bailey is somebody who started at Colorado last year. Before that, he was at Kent State. So the only O-line coach he's ever known is our offensive line coach, Bill O'Boyle, and I think speak to Coach O'Boyle's kind of mentorship and the relationships he has with the players and guys that way. And then brought in Matt Keeler, who started several games at Texas Tech over the last few years. He's a Southside Chicago kid. But wide receiver depth is I think a strength of the team. Our two all Big Ten returning players on offense were Bryce Kurtz and AJ Henning, and speaks to I think the success that they had both last season and the confidence that they have as veteran guys on the team and everything that way. So excited about them. And then Frank Covey, CJ Johnson, and Ricky are all dominant playmakers for us who have done a really good job building throughout the spring and into fall camp here. So we feel really good about our receiver depth and continuing to build that room moving forward.
I want to go back to the quarterbacks for a minute. How different is it coaching a portal quarterback like you're doing now as opposed to a young freshman who hasn't played?
A portal quarterback comes in with, kind of a wealth of knowledge in different ways, and it's more so learning a new language, translating a new language, but they understand what cover 3 is, they understand the weaknesses of cover 2, they understand very much the fundamentals of the game and the scheme that way, and it's learning a new language and what we're trying to accomplish with our system and our scheme and our players moving forward with things, whereas a new freshman is, trying to learn all of that, where in addition to, just the base fundamentals and techniques, and as well as just getting acclimated to being a Division I college football player.
You take a quarterback like Mike Wright, all his experiences. Are there similarities between these offenses that most coordinators are running now?
I think there's a lot of carryover in terms of some of the schemes in the pass game and everything that way that you see across college football. Some of the run game stuff, some of the play action pass stuff is certainly different, but a lot of it is carryover. It's just maybe a different formation or a different motion or a different personnel grouping to kind of exploit different things and tendencies in the defense that way. So again, it speaks to he's played in 3 or 4 different systems now, so he's pretty well versed on what he's trying to do and what he's trying to accomplish that way.
Appreciate your time, Coach. Have a great year.
Appreciate it.
On offense, they like the skill position talent. Cam Porter leads a solid backfield, 2 productive receivers in Kurtz and Henning. The O-line does bring 3 starters back, but they have a ton of work to do there. The 51 sacks they allowed last season the most by a Big Ten team in the last 18 years. This group did do a great job of avoiding turnovers last season, just 9 after 30 in 2022. With thoughts on the season ahead for that offense, Howard with Henning and Porter.
Cam, let's start with you. Wearing number 1, what does that mean to you?
It's honestly, nothing short of a blessing. I'm so thankful for my coaching staff, my teammates for, choosing me to wear it. Obviously, as a young player coming into the program, you see some of the best leaders wearing it, and it just means a lot that I'm able to wear it this year, and I'm going to wear it with pride and try to lead my team to, championships this year.
New offensive coordinator, how have you been adapting to the new system?
Oh, it's been great so far. I mean, we kind of got the groundwork laid in spring ball and just kind of continue to work at it throughout the summer, and I think now we're at a point where we're kind of mastering it and getting ready to, let it fly on game day. So we're excited. We're excited about it.
Looking forward to seeing this run game. Talk to me a little bit about the O-line and the tight ends, how that group is coming together.
Oh, yeah, we're very excited about the run game this year. We got a lot of guys that, have played together, you know what I mean, and they have some experience. So and we're just excited to get it going, you know what I mean. We got a room full of guys that can, run the pill and tote it well. So we're going to be very excited to get that going.
Some depth at the wide receiver position. Or obviously some production coming back, but talk about some of the younger guys that are coming up.
Well, yeah, we got some young guys who have made plays and stepped up throughout spring ball and throughout this camp as well. I mean, they're going to be on full display come game day, but, leaning on our leaders in the room, myself and Bryce Kurtz, and, us kind of leading the way, and then the young guys coming along, it's going to be great. It's going to be a lot of playmakers, a lot of new guys, a lot of new faces you'll see making plays on come Saturday for the Cats.
What's it like at the quarterback position? Talk to me about that.
Oh, it's been a good battle up until this point. All those guys in the room, they've been challenging each other. Bringing their own swag, their own kind of play, and what they bring to the table. So it's been great. Jack has been great. Mike has been great as well. Ryan Holinsky, from top down in the room, it's been a great room so far.
Cam, give us a couple of things that are going to be required for this offense to be able to have the success that you guys want to have.
I think it's big to, get our playmakers the ball in space. Coach Lujan has honed in on that, since spring ball. He's adamant about that. I think that's going to really help us, and as well as just making explosive plays, That's what leads to, big gains and big drives, and that's what leads to winning games.
How about the new facility, or the temporary new facility? It's interesting. To me, it seems cool. How do you guys feel about it?
Yeah, I know. When they kind of announced it, you didn't really know what it would look like, but now we're out there, we're seeing it every day, and it's kind of coming together nice. So, we go out there for practice every day, and we envision a game day feel and what it's going to look like and what it's going to feel like. So, the guys are getting excited. Campus is excited. There's been a different buzz around campus about it. So everyone's excited.
How's Coach Braun been this time around, second year through the system?
Yeah, it's great seeing Coach Braun's growth and his experience. Last year he kind of got thrown in the fire a little bit,
to say the least.
But now, he's settled in, He's establishing the way he wants things ran and wants things done, and you can just see that growth, and you can just tell that he's ready to lead this team.
Well, guys, thanks a lot for spending some time with me. Have a great year.
Thank you.
And David Braun is with me now. I mean, it's amazing to look back on last year. Is there a moment that stands out to you the most when you think about last season?
Yeah, I think the moment that stands out to me most, Dave, is just fourth quarter Minnesota. I mean, just the resiliency that our guys showed, and to be able to finish it off with an overtime win. I think there was so much confidence that was pulled from that game, and I think there was a true sense of belief from there on out that our team could compete with anyone.
It was such an unusual situation, obviously. I know you leaned a lot on your family, particularly your wife, Kristen. Aside from family, like people in football, who were the football people who got you through it?
Yeah, I mean, first, just, the entire staff that was in the building. Skip Holtz was an incredible asset as a longtime head coach. Jeff Jenick, who was on our staff last year, former head coach at Eastern Michigan, was an incredible resource. Beyond that, Matt Entz and I spoke weekly on Thursdays. He was still currently the head coach at North Dakota State, a mentor of mine since I was 17 years old. Chris Kleiman was an incredible friend throughout all this. Chris and I hadn't really had much interaction prior, but immediately when everything happened, he reached out and was just a great resource and a great sounding board of navigating scholarships and some of the things that he's navigating as a head coach in this new landscape to game management. I mean, all those guys were people that I really leaned on throughout the year.
Now that this is your program, what do you want the defining characteristics of Northwestern football to be?
Yeah, number one, I want to keep our number one goal to make sure that every young man in our program earns a Northwestern degree. And beyond that, when we show up on game day, I want people to see a team that, plays together, plays true team football, a team that invests in its entire roster, where you see depth, in all three phases, offense, defense, special teams, where you see guys that maybe don't get their first opportunity to start until their senior year, but they're thriving in that opportunity. And at the end of the day, our goal every single Saturday is to be the most physical team on the field and play complementary football. And, that's something you can talk about all you want, Dave, but you better deliver on that in practice settings to make sure it shows up on game day. Really proud of the way that our guys have navigated this fall camp so far.
Offensive challenges these last few years, really, at Northwestern. Obviously, only 1 year that you were here. You decided to make a change at offensive coordinator. You bring in Zach Lujan, someone who you competed against when he was at South Dakota State. You were at North Dakota State. What made him the right fit?
I got to be really honest. I've said this before. I was very reluctant to even have the initial conversation. I mean, there's a very healthy rivalry between North Dakota State and South Dakota State. But I knew his work from competing against him, had a ton of respect for the way that he did things. But in our first conversation, I knew he was someone special, wise beyond his years, great teacher, really challenged him on, coming into a new setting, are you going to have the ability to adapt and adjust to our personnel and the strengths that we have on this team? And he gave me countless examples of things that he has done throughout his coaching career, even in his time at South Dakota State as a non-coordinator, just as a position coach, and his years at South Dakota State as the coordinator. But just really felt like he was the right fit for what we want to be, putting an emphasis on efficiency and being able to run the ball, understanding that running the ball is going to open up things in the passing game, but just also an understanding of just a lot of creative thought on how we can get our playmakers the ball. And I have been so impressed with the job that he's done throughout spring ball, fall camp, leading into the beginning of the season.
You got a quarterback competition here. We had a chance to watch today, and both Mike Wright and Jack Lausch had some good moments out there. What are the strongest characteristics of each one of those quarterbacks? Yeah,
both very athletic, can be utilized in quarterback run game, ability to extend plays, both process very well. I've been impressed with Mike's ability to come in here starting in June and being able to pick up the playbook so quickly. Jack, as a young guy, had a great spring, great fall, and a new offense. Both are developing as consistent pocket passers, but you saw it today. I mean, some guys, both those guys making some nice deep throws down the field and giving their wide receivers a chance. I've just been really proud of the way that those guys have handled this competition. Both have rode a wave of some ups and downs throughout fall camp, but very confident that, we can win a lot of football games with both those guys.
Will you announce a starter publicly at any point?
We will not. We will not. I'm sure something will leak out on game day, but we're working through that and planning on making sure that we have that decision buttoned up before game day. But we're letting things play themselves out.
Let's talk a little bit about the defense. You did a really nice job with it last year, kind of getting it back to a competitive level where it was the strength of this team. Tim McGargle takes over now as a defensive coordinator. To what extent will you be involved in the defense? Like, kind of what's your balancing act of offensive meeting rooms versus defensive meeting rooms? How do you envision that working?
Yeah, I mean, you said the word. It's been balanced. I've been what I want to be is a resource and an asset to both Tim and Zach. And I bring different strengths to each room in terms of a defensive perspective for Zach and someone for Tim that he can lean on. Someone, I've been fortunate to call a lot of plays over the years. But what I will say about both those guys is there's no sense of needing to micromanage. I mean, when you go in and sit in a staff meeting with Tim McGargle and that defensive staff and the people that he has surrounding him in that room, I mean, I'm learning from those guys, and I just hope to be an asset and chime in when I feel like I need to. But I would argue that, Tim McGargle has taken this group and elevated what we're doing on defense since taking out that role. So happy that we made that decision.
It was fun watching him run that defense. We've been watching him with the linebackers here for many years. It was also fun being in this temporary stadium today. This is such an unusual situation. Explain to people why this was kind of the best solution for Northwestern.
Yeah, I think it really comes down to building momentum and building a bridge into the new Ryan Field. And there's certainly all sorts of options and venues around the Chicagoland area that we could have played in, but it would have been difficult to continue to engage our fan base, continue to engage our students. To my mind, I went to what is our student-athlete experience on game day going to be if we're traveling all over and there's no consistency? You feel like you're playing pseudo-road games even when you're at home. The fact that we're able to be on campus, engage our fan base, engage our students here on campus once they return, I think there's an opportunity to just continue to build momentum into the new Ryan Field, and that's why so many of us felt so strongly about this being the best option.
Really cool setting. There might be some punts that blow sideways, right?
You're not
Fortunately,
kidding.
the prevailing winds are off the lake and not into the lake, but yeah, it's going to be neat to see.
No doubt.
All right, David Braun, thanks a lot, Coach.
Thanks, Dave.
Second year in this system, different defensive coordinator in title, but a coach that you're familiar with. Are there any changes?
There's some small changes, nothing serious. A lot of terminology is the same. Obviously, a lot of the staff is back, which is good to have some consistency with that. Since I had McGargle as my linebacker coach for 2 years, and actually for 4 years, my whole career. So it's really nice for that consistency, but there's not a ton changing.
How about from your perspective?
Having Coach Barnett in the room, it is a little bit of a different terminology sometimes because, he's coming from that Michigan State background, but for the most part, it's the same thing as well.
He's been fun to be around.
Oh, he's a great man. He got a lot of stories, man. He's a great guy.
Well, when you get to his age, of course you got a lot of stories. Now, we played against each other a long time ago, so I dig at him every now and then. You guys really grew last year from a defensive standpoint. What are some of the things that are next steps for where this unit goes?
Yeah, I think continuing to do what we did last year and just keep building on it. Obviously, if we do the exact same thing, teams are going to start figuring us out, and definitely you have to adapt year to year. So I think McGargle's done a great job of implementing that with us. Tackling turnovers are a big thing for us this offseason, and we need to do both those things to win a Big Ten championship.
How's Coach Braun's kind of his demeanor or the way he moves around the team? How's that changed from last year?
I feel like he's finally been able to take a step back and become more of that head coach role. You can see that he still loves to be around the defense. Like whenever we do this thing called Cub Drill, he's playing quarterback. He still loves it, but I feel like he's been able to take that step back and become more of a head coach type of guy. So it's been good.
When you see this offense continue to get better, you see the quarterback battle that's going on, from your perspective, what do you see?
Yeah, I see guys grinding. I mean, it's definitely been a good offense to see. Obviously, brand new this spring ball and fall camp, so they're still figuring out. But they've got it dialed in, and the guys are grinding and working hard, so exciting.
You guys are competing out there in the secondary as well. What's kind of workout between you guys and the wide receivers? How's that worked?
I've been loving it. I mean, wide receivers talk trash to the DBs. That's nothing new. But in terms of the amount of explosive plays that they try to get, it's refreshing. It's new. So it's been a good battle throughout camp.
What are some of the keys that you guys have to have a successful season?
Yeah, like I said, for defense, tackling and turnovers are two big things. Keeping our foot on the pedal. I mean, we had kind of an up and down season last year, so not really riding the roller coaster and staying with those emotions, but be able to lock in and go 1-0 each week.
Any personal goals or unit goals that you have?
Unit goals, one thing that we say in the safety room all the time, like, we're the best in the Big Ten. That's the expectation. And for personal, like, sky's the limit for me. I want to be all Big Ten, All-American, whatever may come my way. Like, that's what I want to be.
Any other things that people should know about this program that look from the outside?
I think last year's not a fluke. I mean, didn't have the greatest season the start of my career 2 years ago and 3 years ago, but we're here and we're ready, so, yeah.
Same thing, we're coming. I mean, I'm ready for it. We're ready for it. We're coming.
All right, guys, well, thanks a lot for taking some time. Have a great year and stay healthy.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Coach, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Coach.
You've been coaching defense for a long time, and two of the people that you've coached with is Mike Hankowitz, who is longtime defensive coordinator here, and David Braun, your present boss. What have you taken from those two experiences?
Yeah, when I had the chance to work for Coach Hank, he was at the end of his career, but that was such an unbelievable wealth of knowledge. And then when Coach Braun came in here, he was younger, but he had the same traits and the same passion for the game. And they are very, very similar people, as people, and run similar defenses, and they both work.
How's it feel to have your own unit?
It's fun. It's fun. I wouldn't say it's my unit. When Coach Braun came here, he said this is our unit, this is our defense, and it still is our defense. We got an unbelievable coaching staff. I got 5 guys at the table with me that I wouldn't want to go to battle with anywhere else, and then Coach Braun is the head coach helping out too. So we got a dynamic staff.
When you stand in front of the unit, what are the biggest principles about your defense?
We are fundamentals first. We want to have great fundamentals and technique, and we want to have a physical play style and play with great effort. At the end of the day, on Sundays, we want to put on the tape and make sure we played physical and we executed the defense. And if we do that, we feel like we'll win a lot of football games.
Some of the leaders on your unit?
Some of the leaders. I just saw Xander, Mueller, and Coco Azema, and out there in the lot. I think they're talking with you here soon. So those are both 5th and 6th year seniors that have played a ton of football here at a high level. So those are the guys we're going to lean on here to win football games on defense.
You're getting close to the end of camp. What's left undone before the opener?
Just buttoning it up. Button up the little things. We had 4-minute today. We had 4th downs today. Just buttoning up situational football before we just dive into a true game week.
How soon before the first game do you start game planning?
We started that in May. So we get a little good idea for the first couple opponents, and then re-game plan. But we're in that process now. Knowing who we are as a defense, where our strengths are, and we want to play into our plans to play into the strengths of our players.
Give us a little bit of an update of the front group, the linebackers, and the back end.
Yeah, inside, at our defensive end position, we have a lot of experience. They're really, coming into their mold and doing a really good job for us. Inside, we had a good year out of Carmine Bastone, a guy right in the middle of the defense. You always want strength in the middle, along with R.J. Pearson, Najee Story, and Brendan Flakes. All 4 of those guys have really stepped up in this camp, and we're really proud of those guys. The leader of the linebacking core, Xander Mueller, had a great year last year, was an all Big Ten player. We expect him to do the same. And in the back end, Coco Azema, Devin Turner has really turned heads his whole time he's been here. Theron Johnson's a returner at corner. So we're excited about some of those guys that have played a lot of football for us.
Well, congratulations.
Yeah.
Being the coordinator.
Awesome.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Back in Evanston as we take a look at Northwestern's defense. 8 starters back from that group. That is tied for the most in the Big Ten. The front 7 has a ton of experience. The issues are in the secondary where they lost a few key pieces. Cats made a nice jump last year, going from 82nd to 40th in the nation in scoring defense.
Was an area where they made a significant jump last year. David Braun brought in to repair the defense. It was clearly vastly improved over where it had been the previous 2 years. Now it's kind of an interesting spot that he finds himself in here, Gerry, because he is the head coach. He has relinquished the play calling duties to McGargle, now the defensive coordinator. What do you think about that handoff?
I think it's great. McGargle's history here at Northwestern, the mentors he's been under, he certainly looked like a defensive coordinator in total control. Today, I'd say until the offense improves, the defense is certainly the strength of the program right now.
Yeah, I think, first of all, it's great that he's gotten this opportunity. Really, I think that's the cool part, and it's well-deserved. But I think, it'll be fun to talk to some of the defensive players as we have to see what the differences are. But I think he brings, just the wealth of knowledge and understanding what you need to do, particularly at that linebacker position, and being able to coordinate that entire group. So him being in place, I think, really gives a lot of stability, I think, defensively, because, they had a chance to work together last year, and it was through some tough times, but they were able to work through those things. And this is a much better defense. They took some leaps and bounds last year. I expect them to do the same this year.
And just based on today's practice, I would say the front and the linebackers are probably ahead of the back end. But at a place like Northwestern, when they were at their best in recent years, they played complementary football. And Tim McGargle has a feel for that. He's gone to school here. He understands you have to match up and do certain things along with your offense. And so I think that's just one of the reasons he's a great fit for this job.
They really like that linebacker crew. They got to get better against the run. Even last year when they were a pretty good defense, they were last in the Big Ten in rushing defense, was the 3rd straight year. The one area where they did have some attrition from the portal was in the secondary. And as you watch that group, it seems like you're feeling like that's the group that maybe needs is the farthest to go. Would you agree?
Yeah, but even if they're the farthest to go, that doesn't mean they have that far to go. I think there's still the talent is back there. It's about getting the experience and playing that position. So many things go on back there, so many different looks, and they just have to become accustomed to seeing that.
Yeah, and this is a case where, the offensive coaches will be asked to do certain things to help the defense. Just if it was the other way around where the offensive coaches wanted something from the defense. So you not only play complementary football on game day, you do a lot of that in camp if there's one side of the ball that needs help from the other side.
And I'll say this, David Braun is not a hyperbole guy, right? He's not a guy who's going to run around with his chest puffed out. he feels like they're going to play good defense. And so I think if he says that based on what they did a year ago.
And based on
Yeah.
his track
Yeah.
record on that side of the ball, you
Kind of got to believe
him.
him. He's got some credibility there.
Well, we mentioned it off the top. Northwestern playing 5 of its 7 games in a temporary stadium. It's Northwestern Medicine Field at Martin Stadium. Will seat about 15,000. This is the lacrosse and soccer stadium. They will play 2 games at Wrigley Field as well. This is because the old Ryan Field has been knocked to the ground. The new one looks spectacular. It will open in 2026. 4 of Northwestern's first 5 games are here on the lakefront, starting with preseason MAC favorite Miami of Ohio on the Big Ten Network. They've got Duke here on a Friday night the following week. First road game at defending national runner-up Washington. They go to Iowa, play Ohio State and Michigan back-to-back, finish with rival Illinois at the friendly confines. 9 of the 12 teams on the schedule had a winning record last year. It's the second toughest slate in the Big Ten, as measured by their opponent's winning percentage last season. So that will not be easy for David Braun and company. Your biggest takeaways on what we saw here at Northwestern?
What a difference a year makes. I mean, David Braun's got his stamp on this program. He's clearly running the program. He's not just coaching the defense. I thought the offense looked probably better than it has the last few years. They're still right now a defensive-based program. I was totally impressed. And that stadium, that is totally cool. What a great decision. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm guessing the students at Northwestern will pack that place.
And I can tell you, I'll be here for one of those events too as well. But I think when you look at the team, and we keep going back to last year, but it's a reason why. Because I think the energy was not there at all because of what was going on around the program. And to see these young people today and how energized they were about where they were and their opportunity to go out and compete, to me was night and day. And that's significant because, again, as you guys know, I'm always talking about the guy in the front of the room and how important that person is. They just get it right now. They're comfortable with who they are and what they want to do. So as they continue to install a new offense, as they continue to be in the second year of a defensive system, I like where the program is right now.
You know, a bad offense impacts the defense. And a year ago, I don't think that the players on offense or on defense had any confidence that the offense was going to move along. And so if you're a defensive player in this program and you've always had success and you've seen your offense kind of not do so well, that's hard on the morale. So I think the morale will be better for the defensive guys. Not that it was ever bad. And I do think this is going to be we love the looks at this stadium, but emotionally, I really think the players are going to get a little bit of a boost the first time and maybe every time they play in that stadium.
No doubt. It's a cool deal.
Yes.
I mean, look, it's very small. They're really the only people who could do this in the league, but it's perfect for when you look at the alternatives, and I've been to that soccer stadium on the southwest side, and with all due respect, it just wasn't the right place for them to play college football. This is perfect for Northwestern, and then the new place, obviously, in a couple of years is going to just be phenomenal. So that's the story with the Wildcats. This is also the end of the tour for us.
Oh, boy. You sure?
Yeah.
You don't
Say
want
it
to
ain't
start
so.
over?
Yeah.
Now, they could keep expanding. Last time, we were at Nebraska once, and we picked up 2 teams. So we think it's over.
Yeah, sources tell me.
Sources tell me
this is going to be it. Neither of us was at all 18 schools, so none of us has seen all 18 teams, but at least one of us was at all 18. So I'm just interested in your takeaways from the tour, what you saw.
I think there's a group, maybe 1 through 5, that separate themselves from the rest of the teams. I think the rest of the teams are all very close, maybe closer than ever before. I think the difference this year is going to be coaching and quarterback play are going to be the keys to a lot of the victories where the teams have the same amount of talent, which in my opinion is a lot of teams.
It's a lot of teams, there's no question about that. And it's going to come down to quarterback play and really play calling and how those things are adjusted, because I think these rosters are so close because they're all talented, but they're a lot closer when you get out of that top 5. And that's not to say that, people that are below that aren't going to be able to go out and compete, because I think they absolutely can. But I think the margin of error is just a little bit less at that point. And also it's about health. That's going to be the other side. And I think the other thing that stood out was just how many transfer portal quarterbacks there are and the jobs that they've had to do to really not just endear themselves to their current roster, but also how they've developed as leaders. And because of NIL, it seems that they've been able to all really impact their teams in a positive way.
And Howard, you saw some of the West Coast schools in the spring, and I saw all 4 in the fall. And this narrative that the West Coast schools aren't as physical, it has nothing to do with where you're located in the 18. Some programs are physical, more physical than others. There's no zip code that defines the physicality, if that's a word, which I don't think it is. I don't think there's
no continental divide of physicality.
No, it's some coaches that have more physical programs than others. It's not where you're located.
Well, I can't wait. The season begins 8 days from now, and we will have it covered. It's true.
Really?
Yes. Our coverage on the Big Ten Network starts with Rutgers, Illinois, Michigan State all in action, followed up with 6 games on Saturday in 4 different time windows. First game is Iowa hosting Illinois State, kicks at noon Eastern. Last game, Washington and Weber State at 11 Eastern. We also have Purdue, Indiana, Northwestern, Oregon on our air. Cannot wait. Thanks to everyone here at Northwestern. Just a fantastic day. Thanks to everyone who helped us along the way on this journey. Couldn't have done it without all the amazing SID staffs in the conference, the great coaches and players who were kind enough to give us a look at their preparation so we could bring it to you. Remember, the tour is over. The coverage isn't. Big Ten Today, every weekday, noon Eastern. Thanks so much for watching the Big Ten Network.